Hello everyone, and welcome to the Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising Spiritual Connection reading. Welcome. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Services. I am Lauren. Welcome. So all of my content here on this channel, as well as my website, is here to help engage you with the Triad of Engagement, which is working with the three basic principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation, and demonstrating how when applied together, they can keep you fully engaged and feeling in flow with the unique energetic imprint of your life. Additionally, all content here is to help you answer your very own I am question so that you can re-engage with life in a more authentic, meaningful, and emotionally fulfilling way. If you are more interested in learning about the Triad of Engagement, I do have a couple links in the description box below to videos that I have created that will show you how the Triad of Engagement can liberate you from the frustrating feelings of fear and anxiety and detachment and reconnect you with the feelings of purpose and place, meaning, connection, and emotional fulfillment. All right, Leos, let's get right into your spiritual connection reading. So what does that mean? When I talk about spiritual connection, I'm talking about the connection between your unique, individual, internal, authentic self and your external environment. We are here going to take a look at your energy, your external environment's energy, and then what I like to call the energy of the void, which is what separates you from being able to feel like you can authentically engage with your external environment. So this is going to be taking a look at any fear points, anxiety points, or challenges that are preventing you from really stepping in as your fullest self to realize that in your external environment. All right, Leo, so let's see what energy you are sitting with currently. Oh, actually quite a bit came out there. Let's see. So we have three cards. We have the Knight of Wands, we have the Ten of Pentacles, and we have the Queen of Cups. Now this is all really positive energy here. So the Knight of Wands is a card of movement. It's a card of moving from a place of passion. The Knight of Wands carries the energy of the sign of Sagittarius, which is what I like to call the spiritual adventurer. It is a sign that is kind of going with what feels good to you, based from a place of passion. We have the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles is one of my favorite cards. It's a card of being able to see your ultimate legacy manifested in the physical world. So this is really being able to reap the benefits of what you sow and being able to enjoy them here. And the Queen of Cups is a beautiful reminder of our connection to our emotions. The Queen of Cups demonstrates that we always carry or hold within us our cup of spiritual connection to the unconditional love that comes from our connection to spirit, and that emotional fulfillment and awareness of what is in our cup. And then that is a stabilizing factor in our as we're dealing with our tumultuous external environment. So what I'm looking at here is there's this kind of element of a stabilization. So I do feel like you guys are kind of sitting with this element of wanting to do what feels good, but feeling a little tied to what you ultimately want in your life. Feeling this tie to sitting with what will be my legacy, what do I want to see as my legacy, and how am I going to, and then emotionally connecting to that. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Now, the fact that the Knight of Wands almost seems to me, like I'm just picking up on an intuitive level, like running away from this. It's almost like there's this feeling of wanting to run away from responsibility to building this legacy. but yet on the other side, there's this emotional connection to it at the same time. So I feel like some of you guys might be wrestling a little bit with that feeling of, I just want to do what feels good. I don't want to be tied to the larger picture right now. But at the same time, you also understand the emotional tie to what this responsibility entails. So let's see what is going on in your external environment and why you're being asked right now to engage this energy with your external environment, what you're basically going to unlock and learn about yourself, and how it's going to help you see your purpose in place and continue on your journey to meaningful fulfillment. All right. Oop. Of course, strength. So Leo, this is your card in the tarot, or in the major arcana. So strength really denotes, especially in the tarot, when you think of strength, as you can see in this depiction, is not this outward display of force, of putting your will on another. It's about using your will in an internal way to be able to shape your life from the inside out. That's actually how I see it. It's through developing this sense of internal strength through grace. And when I talk about that, what does that mean? That means that we each, in and of ourselves, and this depiction here actually shows an angelic being able to touch the hand or the mouth, touch her hands to the mouth of the lion without the lion biting her or attacking her. And so there's this element of kind of bringing back that element of this lion-hearted strength, which all of you Leos have the ability to tap into. But bringing it back to this place of connection to the divine through your internal perspective. Again, this is not an external display of strength. This is coming back to that strength that comes from the knowledge that you always have the power within yourself to be able to meet any goal or challenge. But again, not by asserting your will on others, but by simply making the internal decisions that are in alignment with you. And coming from a place of confidence in self to know that you always have this internal strength to pull from to be able to keep going towards these goals and hopes and dreams. And so what I'm seeing right here with this, in that kind of dynamic interaction, is that you're being asked to, as much as you may want to go out and do what feels good, there is this element of stepping into personal responsibility to this manifestation of a legacy that I feel is actually a lot closer than you think. And you're being asked to tap into that and step into that and engage with that in your external environment, because it's going to help bring this about, again, a lot faster than you think. It's going to actually help manifest it so that you can live within this. Now, before I pull any cards, I think, just a word of encouragement and advice to you guys is that sometimes we can, and I know because I've actually experienced this myself, we can come to a place where we have these goals, we have these ideals and dreams and hopes for our future, especially for what we want to manifest as far as abundance and our legacy in the physical world. But we sometimes feel that that our own passions and our desire to follow what feels good is at odds with our emotions regarding the meeting of this goal. And in reality, they can be one and the same. It isn't that we have to only put our heads down and work to meet a goal. It's that we need to choose the goal and the legacy that has meaning for us. And in doing that, we combine everything. It should be a fun journey we should be enjoying the journey as much as the intended realization of the goal, which is the 10 of Pentacles. So sometimes we have this illusion that we can't enjoy the journey and that we have to put our heads down and get to work and do the dirty hard work. And yes, there is a component that as much as we have to do the dirty hard work at times, that the journey should still always be enjoyable to us. And so for you guys, I think that that's just kind of where I would give a word of advice if you're kind of struggling with that right now of, I want this, I see what I want for my future, but I also feel like it's going to take away from me being able to, that somehow the journey towards this is not going to be a fun journey. That in order for me to realize my own abundance, I have to stay chained to a job I don't like. Or I have to stay chained to a environment that doesn't suit me. And in reality, we have the strength to make the decisions to both continue on our path towards a goal and also to enjoy it at the same time and to find that emotional connection. All right, so Leos, I'm going to pull some cards now for the void. And the void is a place where we have created a barrier between, a protective barrier between our internal unique selves and our external environment that starts from when we are children and is developed as we move into adulthood. And this void is something that gets created kind of step by step as we make the attempts to bring parts of ourselves out into engagement with our external environment, and where we receive less than positive reactions, or what we perceive to be less than positive reactions. And this can be you bringing out some part of yourself and it gets criticized, or you go to look to work with an ability in the external environment and you fail. And instead of realizing that this is your external environment is a learning ground where you are meant to then continually stretch and flex that ability, you hide that ability and you put up a protective layer of barrier between yourself and the external environment. And over time, what happens is that this protective barrier becomes the void. It becomes this large layer of masking that then prevents us from emotionally connecting with our external environment, because we are no longer bringing any part of our unique internal selves out into engagement. And that's where we start to feel like we're just going through the motions. We're not actually enjoying any part of our daily tasks, or we start to realize that our external environment isn't showing us, isn't returning to us what we feel we want to see. And this is where frustration then can come into play. This is also where we can start to feel like we start to question, well, why doesn't the people on this side in my external environment see me for the person that I am? And it's because you're not engaging yourself, because you've now hidden yourself behind all of these layers of protective barrier, which become the void. And this is where the void becomes filled with fear and anxiety towards engagement with your external environment, because you are afraid of bringing out those parts of yourself that didn't work out so well the last time. Now, on the flip side, this can also be where the external environment, again, can't interact. It's where the external environment doesn't get to have the rewarding experience of having you as a unique individual as part of the collective experience, as part of being of service to some area that is needed, because you're hiding yourself away. So we're going to take a look at what's in your void. What are these fear points? What are the challenges you're asking or that you are facing right now in openly engaging yourself, and ultimately of being in service to your external environment, but also feeling like you're engaging on a level that provides you with clarity of purpose, provides you with a clarity of seeing and enjoying what it feels like to simply just live as yourself, to be able to actually live more in alignment with the Knight of Wands, where you just get the chance to do what feels good, what's in alignment with your passions. All right, let's see. Ooh, that's a bit too much. We don't need about half the deck there. Let's see if we can get any more cards for Leo. What are some challenges that Leo is facing as they look to engage with their core unique ability of strength, actually? All right, let's see if there's anything else that wants to come out. Take this, and I'm going to go ahead and also take this as well. Oh, the Wheel of Fortune reversed. Interesting. Okay. So, this first card here really looks to show kind of what your challenge or fear point is. So we have the Seven of Cups. And actually, let me go over all of these for those of you who can't quite see these. We have the Seven of Cups, we have the Emperor, the Hierophant, Ten of Swords, the Fool, and the Wheel of Fortune reversed. So the Seven of Cups here is a card that can denote a lot of options on an emotional level. That right now you have a lot of, and when we say options, this could be in any part of your life that could possibly bring emotional fulfillment. This could be that you have a lot of options in the romantic side to your life. You have a lot of options in the work side to your life. You have a lot of options in perhaps the environmental side of your life. And there's this quality, though, to the Seven of Cups that as much as it can be kind of fun to take a look and have all of these options, that there is this quality of fantasy. There's this quality of illusion. Because in reality, similar to what the Queen of Cups shows us here, we always only have one cup that is our cup. And it's our cup that is forever in connection and filled from our direct connection to spirit. And it's a cup that we know what fills it, we know what's in it, and we can forever, through our connection to the spiritual side to our existence, refill it. It is a cup that cannot be filled from the outside in. It's a cup that we get to fill up and then share with the external environment. And this is on an emotional level. When we talk about a cup, this is tapping into unconditional love, tapping into finding the emotional fulfillment that comes from self. And so the Seven of Cups, to think that this is when we get kind of stuck in the energy of, I have so many options. What if I choose the wrong one? What if what I'm working towards is not ultimately going to be the thing that emotionally fulfills me? And this is an illusion, because at any given time, no matter what cup you choose, no matter what option you choose, ultimately, if you are secure in yourself and you know what makes you happy, then that is going to be your cup. That's going to be, it's what you bring to the situation, not what the external brings to you. So you may have 4 options, but ultimately you can choose any of those options and still bring fulfillment and enjoyment to that option. And I think that this is like what really helps kind of clear up doubt about maybe wanting something as a legacy, wanting to manifest something, but then wondering if there's something better out there. And only you can tell yourself that. It's not a decision of, well, what if I make the wrong decision? No matter what decision you make, as long as you're aware of yourself, it's the right decision for you. And the knowledge that you're always bringing your own cup into play, not that the cup is external and you're looking for your cup. And so this can be, a kind of a debilitating, not debilitating, but this can be a place where we decide not to take action and where we can actually get stuck in a really frustrating sense of a lack of enjoyment for what we have presently in our present moment. This is kind of the grass is greener, and the grass is greener even over here yet again. And even more so, the grass is way greener over there. And it's where we can get hung up in the what if. And it's where we actually can get hung up in the negative what if. You think that this is like, ooh, all of these opportunities, all these possibilities. But in reality, what prevents us from actually choosing one is the negative what if of, what if this isn't the one? And so this is where we can get paralyzed and decide not to take action. Now this is coming into direct engagement with the Emperor. And the Emperor is the total opposite of the Seven of Cups. The Emperor is the emperor of his empire. He is the one that calls the shots. He is the one that has worked his way up through creating his legacy. I always think of these two cards as oftentimes attach the Ten of Pentacles to the Emperor, because there is this quality to the Ten of Pentacles where you get this feeling of seeing this man kind of sitting here on his throne with looking out at others who are part of his legacy, part of his empire. And he's now enjoying that. He's enjoying the legacy, the empire that he's created. But he's still the Emperor. And the Emperor doesn't get caught up in this kind of false illusion. The Emperor is somebody who is strong in their decision-making capabilities, strong in understanding their role in their empire, that they are the ones that make the decisions and call the shots. And sometimes what happens here is when we fall into a kind of a negative interaction with this type of energy, this is where we can start to see, instead of realizing that we are each the emperor to our own empire, meaning we each only live our lives. We get to make the decisions and call the shots in our lives. No one else can do that for us. Just like we cannot live another person's life. And each person is their own autonomous emperor to their empire. But sometimes this energy, especially with this, kind of gets muddled in that we start to, especially when we start to feel like we don't have the power to create the empire, or we get afraid of stepping into what we perceive as the high level of responsibility that it takes to become the emperor to our empire. That once we kind of establish this, we have to keep it going. That we start to then have kind of like authority power issue dynamics that come into play here. And we start to see others as the emperor in our lives. And we start to kind of have this pushback. This is where we can kind of have almost like, as an adult, especially, this kind of wayward child interaction with our bosses or our even significant others, or we can come into odds with, people in a that we see in a hierarchical sense within our own family interactions and dynamics. And it's where we start to have this kind of negative look of anybody who seems to step into a position of power. And instead of just coming back to this realization that the seat of power always lies within us, we start to look at other people as robbing us, as basically usurping our own power to make the decisions that will emotionally fulfill us. Instead of reversing that and realizing, no, we always hold within us our own cup, and we always hold within us the ability to be our own emperor to our own empire at any given time. And that is through our direct connection to spiritual self, awareness of our individuality, and awareness of our true place and seat of control, which is our ability here to make decisions and to take action based on and from our individual self. Now, so I'm seeing you guys are kind of sitting with this like interplay of, I am the emperor, I want to be the emperor, but I also am kind of afraid of the responsibility of what that entails. And so I'm also going to kind of have this this element get kind of stuck in taking movement towards committing to my ultimate legacy, committing to be the emperor to my empire. And I'm going to put this, I'm going to basically, project that my frustration and my fears onto other authority figures in my life, as they're the ones that are somehow confusing me and knowing like or preventing me from following something that I want, following some other option. And we then have the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is kind of your crux position here. The Hierophant is a card that shows kind of the status quo and the structures that are. These are the things that are put in place. I look at it as systems. So these are the political systems, the religious structures, even the familial structures that we have accepted and feel that we have to work within. And these are also structures that we can put on ourselves internally, that we come under these beliefs that we have to do X, Y, and Z, and that this is what equates to success, or this is what equates to fulfillment, or whatever it is. And this is where that card can kind of do double duty. It's a card of both the structures that are, but it's also the high priest. So the Hierophant is the card of the high priest. And so he's also one that has this beautiful vision to the future. He can kind of see beyond what is. So there's this card holds two energies. It holds the energy of the structures that are in place currently, but it also holds the energy of being able to break those structures at the same time. That through tapping into the highest potential of the Hierophant, it's where we can actually build on old structures and build them better, or to find ways to tear down current structures and to do something new that's now kind of engaging, growing, and evolving some aspect of our life. And that, it can be a difficult energy, because sometimes we feel like we get to this point and we are stuck. We feel like we're hitting that glass ceiling, so to speak, because of the systems that are currently in place, that we can't move up or move out or whatever, because society says that this is the way it should be. So maybe your idea of a legacy or what you want to manifest in your tangible world could be at odds with what is acceptable, or even what is acceptable to you. Again, we oftentimes inherit our own systems, our own internal systems, our own internal belief structures that can limit us because we feel like, well, this is the way it is. But in reality, that's the way it is for you. That's your perspective. If you were to share that with somebody else would sit there and say, well, I don't feel that way. I don't think that's not how I see it. That's not the steps I would take to get to the same conclusion. I don't follow that mode of thinking. And so this is kind of where, when we have the Hierophant and the Emperor together, this is a very power-driven dynamic here between the ruler of the empire and his spiritual advisor. And this can be kind of one and the same. This is where, when we start to really understand that we are the emperor to our own empire, that we get a chance to, through our direct connection to spirit, through our direct emotional connection to spirit, we get the chance to be our own spiritual advisor. And if we want to make changes, we can make changes more in alignment with self. We don't have to run away. We don't have to leave a job necessarily simply because something, some rule or structure in place doesn't work with us. Instead, we can actually step up and say, I'm going to see if perhaps I can come from my perspective and decide to take action and maybe change a structure that's already in place at my current place of work, instead of sitting here feeling I have to fight it and that somehow this is all in conspiracy against me being able to realize my emotional fulfillment and choice. You can look at it as the reverse of being able to, in realizing that everything doesn't have to be a power struggle. It can simply just be you saying, well, I'm the emperor. I'm going to make a decision and see how it impacts my empire. And I feel like this one structure that's in place the system in place isn't really working. The status quo is causing a lot of issues. It's causing stagnation. It's causing inefficiencies. And now I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find this is really where we start to turn us projecting our fear of stepping fully into being the emperor in our own life and having to make that choice, having to make the choice to be emotionally fulfilled no matter what we choose. That then it's also about understanding that we can create any type of structure for ourselves, for our whatever we choose. Whatever we choose here, even if it seems to be in direct competition with what is, well, that doesn't matter. We're building our own empire, so we get the choice to call the shots. We get the choice to create the new system. So if something's not working on your external level, well, you can go ahead and change that. You can leave that job. You can try to develop a new system. This is where we can become, instead of viewing others in authority positions, especially like when we're talking in a negative way about, like, let's say the company we work for, and to say, yeah, the company is so stupid. All their policies don't make any sense. They come back and they frustrate the system. And so you're looking at everything from this negative perspective instead of from a solution-minded perspective, that as the empire would look. Do you think the emperor and his own emperor, or the emperor to his own empire, is going to sit there and just look at it? Like, if he's going to look out and see that his crops are failing and the people who are living in his empire are struggling, and it's all based on a system that maybe was put in place by somebody who years ago had a great idea, do you think he's going to just sit by and continue to watch his empire decline? Or is he going to step up and say, wait a second, guys, what's going on here? Can you come tell me why the crops are failing and why people seem to not be doing so well in behind my walls? Once he knows, well, then he can make the change. He can sit there and say, okay, well, let's come up with some solutions. And sometimes the solutions not only just come from within, they come from collaborating with other people. And so there's this element here of that, of stepping into the highest power of the emperor, which is not to look at everybody who's in a position of authority as negative and unchanging and who's authoritarian and won't listen to other people's advice. We, as the emperor to our own lives, have to lead by example first, to be willing to collaborate with others and to hear other people's advice. And as we're developing solutions to problems, also try to be open to listening to constructive criticism of our own ideas and how we'd like to change something. But it's also about projecting now that positive outlook onto other people who are sitting in an emperor position to you. So to sit there and say, instead of saying, well, I'm not even going to bring this up to my boss because he's not even going to do anything about it, or why would I present this to my place of business because they're not going to care. And instead looking at it going, no, there are many different emperors to their empires, and if you look at the emperor, let's say in your corporate world, I'm sure he or she is just as interested in making sure that their empire stays strong and healthy, and wants to hear solutions. And so this is where we can start to change this fear and anxiety and frustration around authority figures and having to be confined by what is, to follow passionately what you want to create for yourself. The empire, no one's robbing you of your ability to create whatever you want as your empire, except you. Because then we move on to the other side of this, and we have the Ten of Swords. And the Ten of Swords is being at your lowest point. This is on a mental level, hitting that moment in your life where you can't go any further. It's where everything has been taken away from you. It's kind of one of those, places where the only place to go from here is up. And I have a feeling that a lot of you guys have been at this point in your life at some point. That you have been at this lowest point where it was very difficult to see any way out except to just almost resign yourself. The beauty of the Ten of Swords is that it's the culmination of a cycle. And so, yes, it is kind of this overkill element of being stabbed by 10 swords, but it's also this mental release of realizing there's nothing else I can do. I'm for all intents and purposes at a death point. I can only go up from here. And what happens at that point is that we've come to this lowest point so that we start the new cycle with one sword. So as you can kind of see here, there's this ray of light coming through him. And that's being pierced with truth. That's being able to have spirit come through you, and all of that craziness that happened to bring you to this lowest point, you are able to stand up and survive. You didn't die from being pierced by 10 swords. You actually gained the ability of additional insight into your own strength. And now you have this light of wisdom come through. But it's how you use that wisdom it's how you use that knowledge moving forward that then turns it into wisdom. And that's where you're being asked right now as your challenge point in tapping into your strength to be able to move forward on what feels good towards a legacy that is of your own creation. Because we have the Fool and the Wheel of Fortune reverse, which to me, there's this quality of starting something, but feeling like things are not in your favor. There's this element of almost like, so the Fool is the 0 point card. This is where everything is reset. And where the Fool is gleefully jumping off a cliff with the full knowledge that he is in alignment with spirit and that he'll be guided no matter what happens as he jumps off this cliff. It's all meant to be. That he has to take this leap of faith, both that comes from himself but also comes from the divine, to know that he is moving in alignment with his destiny. And that he has everything needed within himself and with his direct connection to spirit, that as he moves off from this cliff and moves on, every challenge he meets, he will be able to, he doesn't need anything. He's dropped all of his baggage. He's literally just going on his own. He's going on the Fool's journey, which is the journey that we're all on. But there's this quality here of the Wheel of Fortune reversed, that it's almost like the challenge here is to realize, to get past the feeling that if you jump off this cliff, nothing's going to happen. I get this feeling that some of you feel like instead of feeling in flow with your life, you feel like you are jumping into something that is going to have a negative outcome. That it's going to reverse you back into some area that is out of alignment with spirit, bringing you into a place of insecurity. And what I'm seeing here is that your external environment saying, no, this is an illusion, as much as this is an illusion. You know what fills your cup. You know that you're the emperor in your own empire. You have the ability to be your own spiritual advisor through your direct connection to spirit. And you can change the status quo. We all have that within us. We don't have to run from responsibilities, and we don't have to run from our own vision of what we want for ourselves. You've been through something extreme at some point in your life, and you have a truth and a clarity and a knowledge that is asking to be turned into wisdom now through going back out as this new version of self, this new version of a optimistically curious adventurer. But you have to get beyond the illusion that somehow it's going to, by doing that, reset you back to a place where you are not in control again, where you are in a place of insecurity. This is a really strong reading about stepping back into your power, but on an internal level of understanding your own internal strength to deal with hardship and just the things in life that, the change that isn't always positive, but the change that brings with it the gift of understanding yourself better to further understand your ability to manifest whatever you want and what actually feels good, to be able to work passionately towards the building of your empire. The emperor is not one to, now again, there's the high and the low of it, right? We could have one emperor who takes his responsibility very seriously, but again, he wants the best for his empire. So he loves to interact with others. He loves to have panels of the people who his life directly impacts come in and give their advice. He doesn't necessarily have to follow it, but he gets to be, the benevolent ruler, so to speak. Now, there's a lower element of this, of where the emperor could be a truly autocratic or dictatorial type ruler, where he's like, it's my way or the highway, and I don't care if everybody's starving and the crops aren't growing. I'm not changing anything. And sometimes we can step into that ourselves and project that on other authority figures in our life, that we're the ones who are actually the ones not willing to take the leap. We're the ones that are being held back by the status quo, by what my company systems are. We're the ones that create the rules for ourselves and then decide that we can't break them, decide that they can't be changed, decide that at some point through constructive criticism that something isn't working and we have to change. And that's really what I think you guys are sitting with. There's something that you've created in a false assumption, or just this false element of feeling out of sync with your own personal power in directing your life and what you want to do ultimately with it. Okay, now I'm going to pull some cards for the Triad of Engagement, where we're going to look at curiosity, courage, and contemplation, and to see how what comes up here can help as some advice in opening you up to really being able to get over this kind of power dynamic, fear point around, I think, becoming the emperor, and fear point of being, this is where it gets kind of like a little tricky and a little nuanced, is a lot of times we can have the fear of stepping into the responsibility of the emperor. This can be the fear of like starting our own business, and we then put ourselves, but then we also sit there and are frustrated with other people who are in an emperor kind of authority dynamic with us. And in reality, it's ourselves holding ourselves back from stepping into that responsibility, and we're trying to run away from it. And then there's the other quality of just feeling like everybody else is in control and we're not. And we don't know what we want, so we let other people control us, and then we're kind of stuck in this loop. So it's a very nuanced kind of a issue, a fear point around authority, of being your own authority figure and also engaging and being at the mercy of other authority figures. Okay, so we have as your card for curiosity the third chakra, Archangel Chamuel. Very fitting for this reading. The third chakra is your solar plexus. This is kind of where your ego resides, where your sense of self resides. The number 37 reduces to the number 10, which reduces to the number 1. So this is really about a sense of personal self, and really being able to harness it at its highest level. So when we think about being the elements of curiosity is meant to engage us with optimism, openness, and receptivity towards our external environment. Curiosity is what helps build the bridge, the initial bridge that helps us overcome the void. Because instead of sitting here in a place of fear and being too afraid to interact and engage with our external environment, we want to get curious again about it. We want to start to say, well, what if? But in a positive way, in an optimistic way. What if I do bring out what if I start to express my vision for my legacy? What if I do start to act from a place of passion and start to do what feels good? What can happen? And this is where, to get over our issues with authority, we step into our own personal sense of self. It's hard for us to really be able to express and work towards what we want when we don't have a clear vision of ourselves. So I think really where you're being asked to be curious and to help open yourself up to your external environment is being curious about yourself first. Who are you? You know, the solar plexus is really talking about getting down to the question of answering the I am question for yourself. What do you bring to the table? What makes you an individual being? If you are the emperor to your empire, what empire are you building? And what type of emperor are you? What unique talents and gifts are you pulling from? So in being curious and opening yourself up to the positive side, to the external environment, it's being curious about you first. This is about getting back to you, to your seat of personal power, to then be curious as to how, by bringing yourself out, again, but not with an open display of will. This is not about you going and challenging your boss and being like, I've discovered who I am and you're holding me back. Because again, no one holds you back. You always hold you cannot control the external environment, including people. And so you can't make your boss make you happy at work. Only you can bring your own cup and decide to be happy at work by sharing emotional fulfillment that comes from the knowledge of self. So this isn't about this outward display of like, this is me. Everybody step in line and bow to the emperor. This is about being curious as to how you can start to work with who you are. Start to re-engage with the best parts of yourself and start to be curious about how you can utilize this in your external environment in a way that is beneficial towards your vision of a legacy, but also that makes the journey feel good at the same time. Okay, now I'm going to pull a card for courage. And courage is the seat of our personal power. Courage is where we get a chance to tap into having the courage to become the emperor, to make the decisions to take the action towards what we want to happen in our external environment. So if curiosity is about building the bridge across the void, courage is what we use to take action, to have faith that we are meant to bring our internal unique selves into engagement with our external environment. But we have to take action to do that. We can't just build the bridge and be curious and wait for the external environment to come back. That's not how it works. We always have to make the choice to engage. So this is where we engage free will with destiny. There can be all these great things destined for ourselves in the external environment, but if we choose not to engage with them and interact with them from a place of free will, well, nothing's going to happen, and we won't step into that seat of destiny. So for courage, we have surrender to receiving support and love, and surrender to success. I don't think there could be anything more beneficial than these two cards together. So surrender to receiving support and love is allow the love and support of others in, rather than trying to handle everything yourself. This can take the pressure off and simultaneously nurture you. And I think this is where we have to realize that even though we are the emperor to our empire, that do we want to be the dictatorial emperor where we don't? We feel we have to do everything ourselves? Or are we going to instead have the beautiful, faithful view of others around us and realize that they want us to step into, to be the best version of ourselves in our life as much as we want them to be the best versions of their self in their life. And that we don't have to build a legacy all on our own. That we can work with others. We can ask for help and advice. And in fact, that's what makes building an empire so fun, is that you get a chance to see the beneficial qualities of you stepping into taking action from a place that's authentic to you. You get to see how that benefits others in your life. The emperor is not going to do everything. He's going to be the one that has the vision. And it's kind of like this. You don't have to do everything yourself. You can surrender to being vulnerable to others in your life to help work towards something. I think this is also when we're talking about taking action. This is where we can kind of get out of sync with feeling that others are going to respect our vision for our lives. That we kind of like have to, instead of constantly courageously expressing ourselves to others and saying, this is who I am, I know that the people around me love and support this part of myself, and so as I continue on this journey towards this, the more I express it, the more the people around me are going to support me. Instead, we actually try to hide parts of ourselves because we don't feel somehow that the people around us do support us. We're at odds. We feel like our empire is at odds with their empire. And that's where we have to tap back into faith and really look at the people that we've surrounded ourselves by, and to realize why we've surrounded ourselves with them. It's because they do love us for who we are, not our projection of self. And then we have surrender to success. It says you are ready to experience abundance. Don't look back at previous roadblocks or difficulties. Leap into an exciting new world of possibilities. And this is exactly the Fool. This is what you guys, this is your biggest challenge. It's almost like abundance is here and ready to go. You're stepping into the ability to have and reap your legacy. And yet you're afraid at the responsibility of being the empire. You're afraid to take the leap of the Fool off the cliff, because at one point it didn't work out. At one point, one of your pathways on your journey led to a less than successful outcome. But now what you're being asked to do is to realize you're at a place of success. And to not be afraid of what success looks like, meaning that you have to step into the responsibility of the emperor. Instead, this is a liberating point in your life where it shows you get to build your empire. And the beauty of building your empire is connecting it with others. To getting a chance to share your empire with perhaps getting to have lunch with the emperor of a neighboring empire and sharing ideas. But you're being told here that it's about strength. It's about tapping into your ability to always act from a place of who you are. And to realize that success is right around the corner. You just have to take the leap with faith. All right, now we have for contemplation, which is the third and final principle of the Triad of Engagement. Contemplation is where we get a chance now to, once we've walked across through courageous action across the bridge, now we get a chance to have the ticket back across the bridge, back to self, to evaluate what happened. What were the consequences or the reactions that came from me acting in engagement with my external environment? And this is really where we have the seat of integration, reflection, self-education through direct experience. And this is where we get a chance to grow. This is where we get a chance to come back and say, okay, I took this action, I shared this part of myself. What happened? And how can I continue now to utilize myself and my internal unique kind of magic bag of goodies? How can I continue now to bring out and expand on parts of myself in the external environment? What worked, what didn't? I'm not going to look at this as all negative. I'm going to look at, even if I had a surprise reaction, how can I now see that this is a way for me to unlock and work even on a stronger level with a part of myself? So we have Council of Light, divine orchestration, helpers in the subtle realms. There's a lot here of you guys, I think, are feeling a little like you're on your own. And what I'm seeing here instead is that there's support around you, and that with the Council of Light, it's almost like in addition to having actual people around you, there's this quality of being now to realize that there's truly a destiny for you. And to, when we think of contemplation, to really kind of take a look at going a step beyond just what is, taking face value, what you want to achieve in your physical world, and seeing it on a deeper level and a connected level, and as being part of an intelligent design to the universe and all of existence, to really understand that everybody is a part. Like, if you think about this, this is a picture of all of these really amazing spiritual people that have existed, from Jesus to Buddha to Mary to, I mean, some of these I don't even know, but it's all the major figureheads of the majority of the religions or the major spiritual practices that we have in place. And when you think about it, each one of them, through just simply sharing their story, being who they are, being their authentic selves, created their own structure, challenged the status quo, and just by being themselves and engaging with their external environment. Most of them did not in their lifetime say, create this religion, create this structure around me, do these practices. They just simply lived as themselves. And many of them had to go through a Ten of Swords moment where they were at their lowest point, and they had to kind of surrender to the knowledge that was unique to their experience, and then to continue forward in full faith that now this is what this is their truth. And in addition to that, they didn't have to, others might have made systems around what they did and used it to challenge authority or challenge systems, throughout the different ages. But they didn't have to do that. they had a chance to live authentically as themselves, to express what they wanted, to step into being responsible for their own lives as the emperor to their empire. And in doing so, what they created was a form of success for themselves, and they created their own legacy while also enjoying the journey of themselves. And each one of these people, when we look back, had such a unique, powerful destiny, and most of them probably in their own lifetimes didn't even understand that. Were never able to see truly their importance or their connection. And so that's where I think this is a great way to contemplate on the understanding that your vision that might be a little different, a little off, or even just doing what feels good and seeing what that can come, like seeing the legacy that can be built from that an understanding that it has a divine purpose. It has a place. You might not see that, and what you come from might limit how you can see it, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't still follow it, that you shouldn't still express that part of yourself, that you shouldn't still step into that position of power and authority and being true to that version of yourself. And that, again, the strength that you can tap into, and what you're being asked by your external environment to tap into that strength, which only you Leos really can do, more so than any other sign. You have that ability to become the lion. But what's really cool about when you see a lion who's not looking to attack, it's neat to see a lion in their truest sense of just power. They are a magnificent animal, but when you see them sometimes being like loving and cuddly, and you can almost see the house cat within them, there's this element of really understanding and appreciating their power even that much more. Because you know how much more they're capable of, but they don't have to show that side of themselves. Instead, they can show through love and affection their power. And that is equally as powerful as their outright force of will, show of display of power, which would be, attacking something, and their ability to, bring down another animal. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. I am going to pull a couple more cards here just to gain any additional messages for your energy and your external environment. So we have the Ace of Swords. Very fitting. Kind of felt that might come up somewhere here. Let's see if there's anything else around the Ace. Ooh, Ace of Swords and High Priestess. Ooh. And actually, I'm just going to, these all just turned over. We have the Justice, the Empress, the Six of Coins, and the Ten of Coins. Okay. Wow. Yes, a lot of clarity. Let's see if there's anything that comes up around strength. A lot of strength. Let's see any additional messages for strength. Any additional messages for the external environment? Let's see if anything wants to come out. Can we clarify any more about strength? Or have we said enough? Perhaps we've said enough. Let's see, anything else? No, I think nothing else wants to come out. So I'm going to stick with this. So this message really is more this time internally than it is externally. So you guys are really being asked to engage right now, really to wrestle and to iron out your authority issues on an internal level by making yourself vulnerable to pursuing what you want in your external environment. And what is that going to bring? Ace of Swords and the High Priestess. Ace of Swords and the High Priestess, this is true clarity. Ace of Swords is your truth. This is also clarity of thought, clarity of vision. The High Priestess is our realization that all answers lie within, through our direct connection to spirit, through our intuition. So this is kind of like the lesson learned, that we oftentimes try to seek answers externally to us, and yet when we sit quietly with ourselves, we have all of the answers within us. And so there is this clarity here of realizing that, this clarity of taking this Queen of Cups to the next level. This is basically like the minor arcana version of the major arcana version of this, of realizing, and actually it's the internal. So there's the High Priestess and the High Priest. This is taking this and internalizing it and realizing I can see just as far outward as I can see inward through my direct connection to spirit. And so there's this clarity of realization here of, oh, I need to turn within. I need to become secure in and of myself to step into being the Emperor. It is not anybody else who is holding me back. And if I feel that way, then that's where I have to bring my own cup into play and realize one of two things. I can be the change maker here, and I can try to make decisions and choices towards solution-based ideas and presenting them. This can also be an idea. Or if that doesn't change anything, then I have to step into taking action on my own behalf and realizing that I might have to walk away from a work environment and do something new. I might have to walk away from a relationship and do something new, and no, it's not going to take me back to here. Instead, it's only going to build on the knowledge I already have. And then we have this beautiful progression down here of Justice, the Empress, 6 of Coins, and the 10 of Coins. And this really, to me, just at first glance, is showing me here that I think up until recently, perhaps there has been kind of this, again, dancing around almost like a power struggle. Not a power struggle, but a feeling like you have to step into this masculine energy of doing, of having an external display of will. And in reality, there is the Empress to the Emperor. So he is the external, he embodies the masculine energy of being the ruler of your empire, and she embodies the feminine quality of that, which is being receptive and being creative. And you need both. Every emperor needs an empress, and every empress needs an emperor, because we both have to, as the Justice card shows us, balance the scales between our feminine and our masculine energies. We all have masculine and feminine energies within ourselves, and we have to be able to balance that. We can't only be receptive, because if that's the case, then we're constantly waiting for things from our external environment to come to us. And we can't only be aggressively pushing, because then a lot of times we don't take advantage of what comes into us. And we need both. And so there is this element of here realizing that you have to balance these energies. Clarity comes from, again, realizing that you can create you can create this legacy through not only embodying both sides to that by taking outward action, but also by being receptive and open, but also by, I think, partnerships. And that's really what I'm seeing here, is this balancing of yourself, but also realizing that being strong in the knowledge of who you are, but realizing that you can come into engagement with others. That if it's in a significant partnership, that there are two of you, and one person is going to fulfill one role at some time, and one person is going to fulfill the other, and maybe you guys swap. But it's about having faith and giving the other person autonomy that at any given time they're stepping into this energy within their own empire. Even if you guys share life together, your own empire still might be a little different. But this is showing that with justice here, there's this element of coming into union and balancing out these energies within either a work dynamic, within yourself, or within a partnership. And then we have the 6 of coins and the 10 of coins. And I love this. The 6 of coins is kind of the minor arcana version of justice. It is the showing, it's a good depiction of showing that at any given point, we can be in a place of vulnerability and need to receive, or the tables can turn very quickly and we can be in a position to give to others. It also is an element of being able to realize that beautiful kind of feeling of when we start to see, it's kind of almost like turning that corner of when we feel like we maybe put in energy, put in effort, and we're just not seeing the results. And then all of a sudden we realize we turn that corner and we get that paycheck or we make that first big sale, or we get the chance to realize in a physical way how all of this work and effort we've put in and sacrifice that didn't seem to be bringing anything, finally it's being rewarded, and that there's always a reward for effort and energy put in. It's just that we don't always see it until a certain point. And so this is that realization. And then being able to take that to the 10 of coins. So this is that realization of where you could put in effort and what comes back, basically understanding value, understanding the value of your own time and effort and money, and realizing how far that can take you. That you can go from, okay, just balancing out, to now you can take it to its ultimate realization, to the 10 of coins. You see now the value of your work. Now you can see where that value can take you. So there's this quality here of clarity of understanding self and direct connection to self again. This ability to understand that you have a truth and you can make decisions based from that truth. That to every emperor there is an empress, to balance out both the receptive and the externally pushing qualities of yourself. You don't always have to be the emperor. You can share that with being the empress. They're equally able to create and contribute to a legacy, but they both bring something different, and that needs to be respected, both within yourself and within any partnerships you're in. And then to realize your own value in relationship to what that value can create in the physical world. Really neat reading, Leo. I think you guys are really sitting with a lot of internal self-realization. This is also kind of dealing with some power dynamics and realizing again that you are in a position of power at all times just by engaging your unique, authentic self with your external environment. You don't have to be anybody else's vision of the emperor. And you don't also have to be limited by other authority figures in your life. You can step into a place where you get to see different solutions, different ways to challenge the status quo, and you can actually act on them. And don't be afraid of success. Don't be afraid of leaping into being the emperor of your life. All right. I hope this has been an illuminating reading. I really think, Leos, you are going to come into just some beautiful, almost like I get the sense of like tension mixed with excitement, mixed with like, as you move through this energy, it's almost like this beautiful acceptance of like, oh my gosh, it's all coming It's all coming. It's all coming to be. What I was so afraid was going to take all this effort and that I thought I was going to have to push against this and all of this, all of a sudden, it's fun and it's here. And I get to interact with it. And I think that's really what I want you guys to focus on right now, is to not let the enjoyment of it slip by, because it's happening now. And it's going to continue to happen. The success is starting now and it's only going to grow. But we always have to enjoy the journey. It's not about the destination. So this isn't about trying to run from the destination or trying to wait for the destination. It's about, at this moment, just really surrendering to this and taking action from this place and really enjoying it. Stepping into that sense of fun, stepping into that sense of the cuddly Leo. The cuddly Leo. Everybody sees your power, but they see it through the strength of the love that you bring in. The strength of your own personal power, but the personal power of the benevolent emperor. All right, Leos, I'm going to leave it there. If you would like to book a one-on-one tarot reading or coaching session, you can click on the link in my description box below. I hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I look forward to your next reading, because I think it's going to just show all the success that's coming through. All right, Leos, bye for now.